So yeah, as long as you keep moving, you're perfectly safe and Murphy can't touch you. Crap, I'm sorry, I take it back! Hey there, my name is Soundtrack and welcome back to another episode of my Don't Starve Reign of Giants Wagstaff playthrough series. Last time we enjoyed our final spring, but sadly we're not graced with a visit from Moose, so we're taking that giant off of our goal list. The Beefalo though is definitely fully tamed, so all that's left is finishing up some ruins and then heading to adventure mode. We'll do the ruins today and then start on adventure mode next time. Now let's get to it. Wagstaff is just 3 days shy of 200 days in the constant and has one season left of his third year. We're going to be spending pretty much the whole summer down in the caves, but have a little bit of preparation to do before we head underground, so I start off by harvesting all my grass and twigs and then take stock of what all I've got in my inventory and storage. I've been playing a lot of DST lately, both in my Time for Wanda livestream as well as on the dedicated server I have set up for my Discord community, which you're welcome to join, link down in the video description, and consequently have a hard time remembering what all has been going on in Wagstaff's world each time I come back to it. I've got 3 unused wax paper and figure I'll want to take down plenty of food and other supplies down to the ruins, so I start cooking up a bunch of bacon and eggs, ganking moleworms along the way. If I remember right, I only have 1 crock pot and no drying racks down at my ruins base, so I go ahead and pre-craft 1 more of each. Just after night falls, I go ahead and convert the wax paper into bundling wraps, and once it's morning, I go ahead and harvest all of my bee boxes. Gathering honey at the beginning of the day is great because it forces all of the bees out of the box, whereas they normally filter out slowly during the day, potentially decreasing the rate of honey production. I'm going to want lots of honey during the summer, both because of its really slow spoilage rate, as well as its sanity restoring properties when made into taffy. Next I start gathering some materials I want to take down with me to the ruins. I can't remember what all I left down there, but as Wagstaff's time in this world is winding down, I figure I won't really be needing any of this stuff here on the surface for much longer anyways. Shadow Chester gets loaded up with some living logs, nightmare fuel, and some silk, and a pierogi helps me recover from the bee stings. Gold, pigskin, and some Thulecite get added to Chester's cargo, but then I remember that I want to make several extra infroggles to ensure that I'm able to keep the lights on in the ruins. But first I want to make a pair of frifocals, which, unlike spectacles, have the benefit of not deteriorating while being worn, and then make 3 extra pairs of infroggles. To cut back on used inventory space, the infroggles and pigskin go into a bundling wrap, and then during the night and dusk I continue making more food for the journey. Day 199 arrives, bringing with it the first day of summer. I've still got a day or two before overheating becomes a problem, but go ahead and craft a new chilled amulet. Honey gets harvested one last time, and I give my Beefalo what may be one of his final brushings. A couple of pierogi get cooked up, raincoat goes into storage, and then my food stockpile gets bundled. I cook up a few taffy to top up my sanity, load Chester with a few more basic supplies, then hop on my Beefalo and ride off into the sunset towards the Pig King sinkhole. At the sinkhole, I use the Beefalo to take out the bats, and as a quick addendum to what I said last episode about tamed Beefalo in single player, in light of a comment and some further testing I did, apparently you can get them to do their Beefalo attack, including damage bonus from their tendency and a war saddle, but only if you aren't holding any weapons or are holding a short list of items. I even updated the wiki to reflect my findings. Down in the caves, I beeline straight for the ruins sinkhole, dodging some bunnymen that are conveniently occupied by the worms I've been ignoring. Then, down in the ruins level, I head straight for my base, only to get ambushed by yet more worms. Ah well, free monster meat. There's only 3 in this attack, and I take them out pretty easily, making sure to protect Chester, who I really want to keep alive this episode after what happened to him last winter. After that, I spend a few minutes cleaning up the area around base, taking stock of my stockpiles, and building a few structures, including a telepad. Telelocators don't work down in the caves and ruins, but I've never tried using a telebrella, so I figure why not. I switch to the frifocals to preserve the spectacles. Although I don't care for the sepia filter effect on the surface, down here it really doesn't bother me. Next, I place a new storage chest, plant some trees in case I need more logs, and go ahead and convert a partially used pair of spectacles to yet another pair of infroggles. I have a hard time seeing valid placement for my second crockpot, so switch to the visor, then get it planted, then cook up some more taffy to get my sanity boosted before heading off. While those cook, my drying rack gets placed near the bird cage, and then I grab a couple of bundled supplies I had left down here last summer to see what's in them. Okay, lots of food. I don't think I'm going to need to worry about keeping myself well fed. I go ahead and put a big meat on the drying rack, then bundle up most of the perishables, keeping the honey poultices in my Krampus sack. These bundles can stay here as I've got plenty of food in the bundles I prepared earlier on the surface. I run around the area gathering up stone, which I was low on, as well as enough niter to pre-craft an endothermic campfire. Chester gets loaded with stuff I want to take to the Ancient Pseudoscience Station, and then I head off into the Sacred Biome. The nightmare phase starts as I'm almost there though, and I quickly get spotted by a Terrorbeak. Before I can take him down, he gets joined by a few buddies, so I decide to go for a jog and wait out the phase, but then decide to just take out the shadows, then grab my Krampus sack and head to the station after healing up with the honey poultices. Now, as I mentioned in my guide on the caves and ruins, although the stuff you can craft down here is pretty neat, it's not nearly as powerful or useful as it is in Don't Starve Together. Items like the Starcaller staff are borderline useless in single player, as the sun only lasts for 2 minutes, whereas it lasts for 3.5 days in DST, and is extremely useful for certain boss fights and can also be changed into the Mooncaller staff. The Magiluminescence is nice, I guess, but really isn't needed for anything in single player, where I would generally prefer to keep a backpack on anyways. Just for fun though, I go ahead and craft a construction amulet and a deconstruction staff. By using these two and then making and unmaking Thulecite suits, you can basically duplicate the Thulecite used to make the suits, less of course the materials used to make the construction amulet and deconstruction staff. So I go ahead and do that with a few suits, then make a few more, as honestly the Thulecite armors and the Thulecite club are generally the best items to make in single player. Eventually the warning phase turns on, I craft another club, then start to head off, but then decide to double back and go ahead and make a pickaxe just for funsies. It gets made, then I boogie off as the nightmare phase goes into full swing, but then I remember that I've got a Telebrella to test out, and it works! Though once again, Chester didn't come too, but that's an easy fix as a quick hop up to the cave level and back gets him back to me. At base, I stoke up the endothermic fire pit, put on the frifocals, then work on getting my sanity restored by cooking up lots of taffy while also cleaning up my inventory. I bust open one of my bundling wraps to get my extra and froggles out, and soon enough I'm ready to head out again. This time I head to the military biome and right at the entrance nab another green gem. The nightmare phase is active, so I start out by mapping the edges, but then I see a broken clockwork and decide to fix it up and encourage some violence. 3 Gears repairs a broken pile into a somewhat random clockwork which will be your friend until destroyed. So they can be useful tanks in drawing fire from other clockworks, however they are hostile to Chester for some reason, and this friendly bishop aggroed on my hoppy friend so I had to bust him back down. I had taken a few hits without any armor on earlier, so I used the last 2 honey poultices to heal up a bit. Then it's back to exploring, moving in to take out any isolated clockworks. In addition to gears, these guys sometimes drop Thulecite fragments and sometimes gems, including the rare ruins varieties, so they're worth taking out. I get a worm attack and recruit a knight to help, but then start to overheat as well as the knight decides to attack Chester instead of a worm. So I drop an endothermic campfire and take out the worms, one of which had downed a knight. So I guess he wasn't totally useless? And is it just me, or are the frifocals powered by potatoes? Warning phase fires up as I'm stowing some stuff in Chester, but I just keep on keeping on, mining statues, killing clockworks, and taking the occasional hit from something without my armor on. Now, if I was playing smart, I would have backed off to heal up, but I was feeling like playing dangerous and just kept going. When I was about done mapping the perimeter though, I did decide to take a pit stop, open my care package, and use the pierogies to heal. Excess food goes back into the bundle, and then it's back to work. In an effort to keep my health up, I decided to temporarily ditch Chester, recruit a clockwork friend, and then start clearing out some of the interior. Chilled Amulet cools me off while I mine a statue, but a bit later a Rook takes out my bishop, but I don't mind as I then use that Rook to break some statues for me and even down a broken Pseudoscience Station. And apparently these things can drop a dwarf star? Per the wiki, that's like a 1.1% chance to happen, so lucky me? Also, apparently these things are made out of cheap trinkets, lols. The trinkets, along with the frazzled wires down here, are good for gold with the Pig King, but as I really have no need for any additional gold, I just leave them all. The nightmare phase is about to turn on again, so I hire 2 more bishops, kill a few more rooks, but then go back to collect my Chester. The nightmare phase ends while I'm clearing out the interior, and soon enough it's just about all mapped and cleared as the nightmare phase is again gearing up to start. I quickly mine the last statue, kill the last clockwork, and then telebrella back to base. Trip to the caves gets Chester back again, and I start making taffy and pierogi to restore my stats using the nearby lichen for the pierogi. It's almost day 210 and I decide to run out and gather some blue caps to help me get back to top condition, but then get distracted and decide I might as well map out the village biome. I had a pretty bad mishap with a huge train of shadow spelunkies in my DST Wanda livestream not too long ago, and feel like sticking around here to demonstrate that in single player they're not nearly as bad. For starters, the monkey pods are generally more spread out in single player than they are in DST, and other than satisfying map exploring OCD tendencies, there's really no need to go near them in single player, whereas in DST, there always seems to be a ton of pods along the route from the wilds into the ruins. The nightmare phase beginning is accompanied with the angry howls of the shadow spelunkies, and pretty soon I've got a handful chasing after me. But I just keep moving as I map out the area, and so long as I don't stop or run into a dead end, I'm perfectly fine. But yeah, as Wanda demonstrated, if they do hit you, you'll quickly be stun locked and killed. So make sure you stay as far ahead of the monkey train as you can, and don't try any sharp turns right in front of them like Wanda did. Nightmare phase is still active when I finish mapping the village, so I just keep circling around until eventually calm returns and the monkeys turn back to normal and stop chasing me. Though I'm not sure if I agree with Wagstaff assessment of the fun they bring. Looking at the map, there are a few spots in the labyrinth and military biomes that I didn't quite fully explore, which I'm willing to let go. But that other section of military definitely needs some attention. Telebrella warps me home, taffy and cooked blue caps top up my sanity, and then it's off to that military wingaling having eaten a glowberry just for fun. I've had enough entertainment with Clockworks and gathered more than enough materials that I'm never going to actually use, so I just map out the area, dodging Clockworks and shadow creatures alike, then run back to base where I take out the last tailing terrorbeak. And yeah, that's pretty much it for these ruins. Sure, there are a few more statues in the second sacred and military wards, but again, there's really nothing that I'm after, and with summer almost over, I pack up some of my stuff, then head up to the cave level, which also has a few areas that do need to be explored. I've only got 69% durability left on my last pair of Infrogals and don't know if they'll last long enough, but set off to finish mapping out this level. For the most part it was pretty uneventful, though I did have a bit of an oh shit moment when I accidentally hit a dead end while getting chased by twin terrorbeaks. I thought this gap ahead was big enough to fit through, but instead saw my health drop by 120 points as both terrorbeaks and one of the spiders took a bite out of me before I had realized my mistake. I quickly threw on double armor and am really lucky a spitter wasn't in the mix, as one more unarmored hit would have been Wagstaff's first death of the world. Perhaps recklessly, I doubled back and grabbed my Krampus sack in order to rescue my Shadow Chester from the spiders, but then had to throw on my armor again due to an earthquake, as one falling rock would also kill me without armor on. I also switched to lantern and trifocals to better see the shadows of the falling rocks, and managed to not take any further damage. I grabbed the Krampus sack again, quickly ate the pierogi after dodging terrorbeak attacks, and then finished mapping the area. So yeah, that was really close. And if it had been shadow spelunkies instead of terrorbeaks, I definitely would have been dead. Nothing terribly exciting happened after that in the caves. I found a really big community of rock lobsters, got spanked by a baby tentacle that was grumpy for no apparent reason, and had to switch to lantern and trifocal vision for the last bit of exploring. As I was just about finished exploring, day 214 arrived, bringing with it the first day of autumn, and having completed my exploration and looting of this whole cave system, I marked that goal off my list as I climbed back to the surface. As expected, I was greeted topside with the baying of hounds, so I quickly hopped on my noble steed and ran back to base on my tooth traps. Not thinking about the fact that I was still wearing trifocals, I pushed my attack button and was surprised to temporarily go invisible when shooting it. So that was something. There was one straggler hound back towards base, so I lit him up too and then watched him Leroy Jenkins into the local lure plant. I harvested the jerky as dawn arrived just in case any of it still had any sanity restoring properties, but no luck. And next I didn't even bother unloading my inventory, but instead hopped back on the Beefalo and ran straight for Maxwell's door. Wagstaff has learned and experienced all he had hoped to learn in this part of the constant, but still has one challenge remaining on his journey: adventure mode. But will that last leg of his journey be as successful as his travels have been to date? And which chapters will he have to face? Guess we'll find out in the next episode.